I'd like to thank Pastor and for giving me the opportunity to speak. It's a little nerve-wracking, even though there's not as nearly as many people as, per se, a Sunday morning, but it still, gets to your nerves when you're in front of a crowd. But most importantly, let's open in prayer. Dear God, thank you for another day of life, Lord. Thank you for the freedoms that we still have at this point, God. It's hard to determine what's going to happen in our country. It's a sad thing when people tell me as a senior in high school that I care too much about politics and things like that. God, when I'm the next generation and our opinion and our beliefs are what matters most coming up, God, give me the power and the ability to speak out what it is you would have me to say. Help me to listen to you and for it not to be my words, but it to be your words through me, God. I trust you and I love you with all the ability that I have, God. We fail you time and time again, but help me, Lord. It's in Christ's name I pray. Amen. I feel as if this is something that's been burdened on my heart for quite a while. So one thing that kind of bothers me in I guess you could say the Christian society that we live in. I go to a Christian school, and even at a Christian school, people don't expect the young men and women my age to not necessarily stand for the faith, but just play a part in something important or have a voice, so I should say. And to me, that's a sad thing, because we're what's next. Everyone talks about how what's going to happen when the generation that's standing strong right now, such as our pastor and the elderly people that are a part of our church that get down and pray each and every day. Well, what's going to happen when they're gone? Well, we're what's next, so why not train us? Why not get us prepared for when we're going to have to openly say, God, I'm willing, send me. Send me to wherever you'd have me to be, whether it be on the sideline for a few moments to learn and then jump in the game, or to jump in the game instantly. If you have your Bible, I'm going to be starting in Isaiah chapter 6, verse 8. It's a very common verse, as a lot of people would think. As I had already said a minute ago, it's almost like saying, Lord, send me, because I want to be willing to do what you'd have us to do. Verse 8 says, also I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send and who will go for us? Notice that he doesn't force us to do anything. He's not forcing us to make the commitment or to make the choice, but perhaps he gives us the opportunity. He gives us the choice. And then said I, here am I, send me. Christ is asking who's going to go. And then the next part is supposed to be us. It's supposed to be all of us as Christians in the faith to say, God, send me. But let's pray again before I really dig in. God, I thank you for, once again, for the opportunity to go up here, Lord. You know how I'm feeling. You know that I'm nervous, God, but it's not the first time, and it's hopefully not going to be the last, Lord. I love you, and I ask you to give me the ability to say what it is you'd have me to say, to not confuse my words, but to point it out plainly. It's a very, very simple message that you have for me to speak, God, and I feel as if it's right on what you'd have me to say. Help us to focus and to love you, and it's in your Son's precious and holy name I pray. Amen. You may be seated. So I was asked last week to be in an interview that had happened yesterday at our school. It's what's called a accreditation interview. Our school has to be credited, so basically it's a rubber stamp that says our school is capable to be a school. And they pick and choose the kids who's not going to say something extremely stupid to go in the interview, obviously. So I must not be extremely stupid. However, it's a very easy interview. It's not the first time I had done it, but one of the questions that the accreditation team had asked was, First Baptist Academy says that they're supposed to sculpt us to be leaders. We're supposed to leave and graduate high school knowing how to take leadership and how to be a leader. And I'll never forget, there was another senior in there with me. They choose about 2 kids from each level of school. And he said, First Baptist has helped me be a leader in such and such ways. But I'll never forget what he said. He actually leads worship for our school in chapel on Fridays, this kid does. And he said, about 2 years ago was when he started to do it. And before that, he said he'd rather be, his exact words, I'd rather be on the sideline and observe. I'd rather look and observe what's happening rather than be in the situation, I guess you could say. And then he said that they pushed forward, they pushed him, hey, you have the ability, you can play. The kid can play just about any instrument you put in his hands. He can sing. He loves the Lord. And finally, he took that next step, and he said, I'm glad that FBA has given me this opportunity, because once that I took that step, I felt as if I was making an impact. And I'll never forget that word, impact. He said he felt as if he was making an impact. But it wasn't until he said, I'll do it, until he made that impact. A lot of times we don't want to step forward and say, I'll do it, but you're not going to understand what it's like to make an impact unless you move forward. I played soccer 2 years ago, I think it was, at school. I'm not a soccer player at all. In fact, I don't even enjoy the game. But I played it because our school, I go to a very small Christian school, and I promise I'm getting somewhere with all the stories. I go to a very small Christian school, and they needed extra players, and one of the moms at our school actually wrote my name down on the thing. And my dad always taught us, once you're signed up, and you're going to commit, and you're never going to stop doing it until the season's over. So I remember walking by, and the coach was like, oh, you're playing soccer this year? I was like, no, I'm not. And he was like, oh, your name's down. And I was like, well, I guess I'm playing soccer this year. It was fun. But the point of that was, I'll never forget it. We had 4 coaches, okay? We had 1 head coach and 3 assistant coaches. And there was one assistant coach that was kind of like more of someone to look to, because he played soccer in high school and in college, and our head coach obviously had played, and he knew what he was doing. But I'll never forget the 2 other coaches. They'd never played soccer before, ever. They knew the game perfectly. In fact, they kind of like studied the game, but they never played it. And I'll never forget it. We would play and run up and down the field, trying our best. And we'd listen to our head coach and that first assistant coach, and they would try to tell us what to do, and we'd listen to them. Like, oh, yeah, you've been here. You've done it. I'm going to listen to you. But I'll never forget it. We shouldn't have, but we kind of bullied the other 2 assistant coaches that were coaching us, because they'd never been there. They'd never done that. Why would I take advice from someone who doesn't know what it's like to actually be on the field? One of the reasons we look up to our pastor is because he's been in this fight for a very, very long time. And by the fight, I mean the Christian faith. I mean, they're trying to take away everything we've ever stood for. I go to a Christian school, and I have kids asking me if I'm pro-life, if I believe in my Second Amendment rights, if I believe for such and such, if I support certain people in the election. And I think it's sad when I go to a Christian school and there's kids who have to question if I'm pro-life. I saw a video the other day, and I asked the kid that I go to school with this question. I said, I got a question. Let that baby be born. Why don't I just shoot it? And he said, well, that's why we shouldn't have guns. And I said, I'm sorry, what? And he said, well, that's why we should ban guns. I said, you didn't get the point. Both ways you killed an innocent life that didn't have a voice. Both ways you chose to kill an innocent life. It's just one way they make it seem a little more right. But it's wrong both ways. I go to a Christian school. I'm going to say that a lot. I go to a Christian school, quote unquote Christian school. My parents pay for me to get a biblical classical education, and I've had to stand more in my school for what I believe than I ever had to stand for when I went to public school. I feel as if they don't care at all. Because they don't. Back to the soccer analogy, the whole sermon, I guess you could say, is going to be based on soccer, because it's just the idea I had for it. So I didn't have an impact in the game, so in a sense, I didn't play, and I wasn't making an impact in that game, and then they made me play, kind of. But once I started playing, I made an impact on the field. And one way that we need to get in the fight is maybe encourage our brothers and sisters. The only way I played is because my teammates were saying, come on, play. You know, my buddies, my friends were playing. So they were like, play with us, but play. But once I got in that fight, in a sense, for the analogy, it would be the Christian fight for our faith and for our beliefs, for what's going to happen in our country. I was the same way in that soccer game, but there were a couple ways that I could only be impactful. The only ways that I could be as of help. And one way was practice. We practiced each and every day. I mean, I didn't want to go to practice. Like I said, I didn't want to play the sport. If it was something I'd enjoyed, I'd have loved to go to practice. But I thank my dad for making me go to every practice, every event, everything. But it's what sculpted us and helped us. And I guess a couple ways that we could practice, quote unquote, in today's world, in the fight against evil and good, because right now, if you haven't noticed, they're trying to switch those definitions. A lot of the things that they say are evil are really good, and a lot of the things that they say are good, I'm like, are you serious? Right. You think that's okay? Yeah. You think it's okay to do that? You think we should be able to do that? It blows my mind. But a couple ways is study. And Mr. Beck in Sunday school a couple of weeks ago said there's two different types of studying. And there's get up, and you read, and you wake up an hour early, no matter how much you want to or not, and you read, and you truly care, and you truly get what God has for you. Or, he said, we all do it at times. We'll get up and we'll read, all right, thanks God. All right, that was good. You go off through your day. Well, he said that on those days, he wasn't very happy. In fact, it upset him at times. Well, that's because you didn't truly study. In order to answer the questions that we have to study, and we have to know the answer, and we have to care about it. We have to truly care. I'm a senior in high school this year. I'm graduating this year, which means I'm off to the big bad world next year. And it's scary at times, but at other times I thank God for my pastor and my parents and all the people around me that have gave me a foundation to be able to stand for what I believe. And when there's kids, seniors in high school, who are saying, why do you care so much? Why do you care so much? Why don't you care? Why don't we care as Christians? And there's teachers at my school who will even say, hey, maybe you need to just let it go this time. No, I can't let it go. You're trying to say that something completely wrong is okay. We don't need to let it go. Us as Christians, we still have a voice. And if we don't voice what we have right now, it will be taken away. They're trying their best to take away what we have. We were a horrible soccer team. I mean, we were the worst team in the league, for sure. We didn't win a single game. We tied one game. I think that's why I didn't like soccer, because it's no winner or loser. You can tie. That's kind of crazy. But I'll never forget, our coach used to always tell us, we would get better and better, but it felt like we just kept playing better teams and better teams and better teams as we were getting better. And we wished we'd have done it backwards. You know, played the good teams first and get better, and then play the worst teams. Maybe we could have gotten a couple wins. But one thing he used to always say was, all right, you're going to get destroyed today, but try to learn from it. Try to learn from it. Storms come in life, and I think everything happening is a storm. I don't think you walk out your door without being a part of the storm of the world. Today, for sure, growing up, life, I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it was pretty great for me. We're very patriotic at our home. I love my country. I mean, I love my country. I love the freedoms that I have. As soon as I was old enough to understand how much freedom we had, my parents hit it into my brain, let me know what to be thankful for and what we had. And I think just walking outside, going to work, going to school, going to college, whatever it is, that storm is there. And we need to remember to learn from the storm. And I'm not saying, oh, there's always good in everything. There's always good in everything. A lot of the speakers in chapel at our school will say, oh, Jesus loves you. Find the good in it. Find the good in it. Well, why don't we fight the evil in it at times? Because if we so often say, oh, find the good in it, find the good in it, maybe we'll forget that we need to fight. We need to push forward just like the enemy is pushing forward. Pastor has said many times, they're right and we're wrong, period. That's the end of discussion, and they don't want to say anything else after that. Well, no. We need to stand for what we believe. We need to say, no, I'm right and you're wrong. Let me explain it to you. You don't have any reason to what you're saying. I actually have a purpose from what I'm saying. Let me explain to you why I believe what I believe. I'm not just going to say, you're wrong, and walk away. That's what they want to do. You're wrong. A lot of these kids, they'll say, you're wrong. Oh, you're wrong. Tell me why I'm wrong. I want to hear your explanation, because once I let you explain why you think you're right, let me explain why I'm right. Let me explain why I think that I have the truth, because we do have the truth. Prayer. Prayer is the most important thing in the fight of today. I genuinely believe that our pastor and many people in this church get down on their knees and pray. And I don't mean, God, thank you for this day. God, thank you for waking me up. Help me have a good day. Amen. I mean, they get down. Down. Maybe even prostrate on the ground, face down, and they plead, and they say, God, please, please help us. Please touch our nation, God. Please, because once the nation goes under, we go under. We lose. In a sense, we lose completely. The pastor that, Brother Lentz, he said a Ronald Reagan quote, something like, if we ever become not one nation under God, then we'll become one nation gone under. If that's not the truth, that is the truth. That is extremely true, and it's more important now than it's ever been. Not only do we need to say, God, send me, but we need to listen to why he's sending us and to what he's wanting us to do. Because a lot of times we jump into something that we can't quite handle ourselves. I'll never forget, in middle school, I played basketball, and there were these two kids on my team, amazing basketball players. One was Noah and one was Jake. And we were in the tournament, and we were pretty good. I'll never forget, the coach, we gathered, it's one of those games, we were down by 1 point or so, and there was only a little bit time left on the clock, and I'll never forget, the coach said, all right, Noah, Jake's going to run around and pass it to you. You're going to shoot it. We're going to score, and we're going to win. And we all trusted this kid. He shot lights out. He was good. And he shot the ball, and he scored. And I'll never forget, his dad would always stand in the corner of the gym, no matter what gym we were in, and he would always sit there like this and just watch us play. Never said anything, didn't yell. You know how some dads are like, are you serious? They're trying to coach you while you're on the court. And this dad would just sit there, and he'd say nothing. And I'll never forget, when his son shot the ball and he scored, dad used the word wow. But he used it in a positive sense. He said, wow, that was awesome. And our coach said the exact same thing. I was right beside him. He said, wow, we made it. We scored. We won. Well, not the very next game after that. The same scenario. Except this time, the kid that shot the ball last time wasn't shooting well that night. So he decided to flip-flop the positions. And he said, all right, Noah, you're going to run around, pass it to Jake. Jake's going to take the shot. Well, this Noah character, he, ran around, supposed to pass it to Jake. He's wide open. We know what's going through his head. I'm a beast. I scored last time. I won it. I'm going to do it again this time. Well, sure enough, he shot the ball and he missed. And I'll never forget, his dad, was in that corner. He said the exact same thing. Wow. But it's a completely different meaning. He said, wow, if you'd have just listened to your leader. The kid was willing to do anything. He was always saying, Coach, what do you want me to do? I'll do it. I'll take a charge. I'll get hit by the biggest guy on the court. He was willing to do anything, but it's when you're willing to do something and you do what you're told. It's when you do what God has planned for you. That's when you succeed. I'll never forget, I was at my grandparents' house one day, and they have, I don't know how much land, not much, but there was a tree in their backyard, and I was a monkey. Climbed everything, took things apart, put it together. I was that kid. What are you doing? That's the kid I was. And I went to climb this tree, and my Uncle Bob was in town, and my grandpa said, hey, don't climb that tree. It's got thorns in it. I didn't know it had thorns in it, but I was already a little bit of ways in the tree, and I was like, I ain't gonna get no thorn. I got this. Sure enough, not 5 seconds later, I got a big old thorn. They were big thorns, too. It was sticking out of my hand. And I walked up to the porch, and my Uncle Bob laughed at me, and he said, ha, ha, ha. And I was like, why are you laughing at me? And he was like, these are, I think, his exact words. He said, if you'd have just listened to what Grandpa said, if you'd have just listened to him and got down from that tree, you would not be in pain right now. And the reason that I was in so much pain is because it actually snapped, and I got some of it stuck inside my skin. My grandpa was practically a doctor, though, so he took it out for me. A lot of things that, one thing our coach used to say, aside from practice all the time and get destroyed, and learn from that, is he would always say, know the enemy. We would watch other soccer games. After our game, we would watch the other guys play sometimes. Or sometimes we'd go, oh, coach, why are we going 2 hours early? Because we got a team that we're playing next week. They're playing today before us, and we're going to watch them play and see a strategy. Well, our pastor has said it a lot. We need to know what we're up against in this fight. We need to know what we're up against. I care. I don't know why the kids my age don't care, personally, because I care so much. I care that they're trying to take away my rights. I care that they're trying to take away the things that my parents have raised me to believe and the things that we stand for. My voice. I care that my voice is trying to be taken away. Right now in our country, I can stand behind this pulpit and I can say whatever I want practically. Not practically, I can say whatever I want because we live in a free country. And our country has given us the ability to believe what we want and stand for what we believe. They're trying to take that away from us. We need to study what they're trying to do, and we need to fight against it. I think it's time to stop saying find the good in it, and I think it's time that we fight. I think it's time that we put our voice out there and we say what we believe. And one thing my dad always says, all the time, he says, man, Christians got their head in the sand. Christians got their head in the sand. And me and my brothers look at each other like, here he goes. He's going to go off on his rant. Yeah. But he's right. He's right. And it took me a minute to even realize that as well. But he's right. We have our head in the sand. And not just in the sense that we don't care, but we don't know. And a lot of us that do know, we don't study what's happening. We don't research what's happening. A lot of the kids at my school, they'll read this front page article, and they'll tell me this story. I'll say, that's not true. Well, it was on that newspaper. I don't care. Figure out what actually happened. Actually care. We can't just go up against this ginormous battle and not have a plan. And I don't think the plan is find the best in it anymore. I think the plan is stand for what's here, stand for what we have. It's sad. The world has come to a very big change, and from when I grew up to now, and I'm still really young. I like to think I'm really young. I got my whole life ahead of me, and it's sad. I read thank you the other day, and it said 93% of boys are exposed to pornography before they reach the age of 17 years old. That's before we're men. That's before we're grown. 93%. And I think it said like 78 or 83% stay in it, which means they look at it and they decide to stay in it. But don't forget that 93% didn't have a choice. They didn't get to decide. It's the simple things that we need to fight, as well as the things that surround us. In order to win in a soccer game, which we never did, but in order to win, we had to surround ourselves with strategies and tactics that helped us win. We practiced more often than most teams practiced, just because we were bad and we needed to learn how to play. But I think a lot of times it's what we surround ourselves with. And obviously I'm saying put yourself out there in the battle, in the fight of what God has us to do. But not only that, when I say surround yourselves with the things that you need to surround yourself with, I mean when you're at home, when you're behind a closed door, when you're not in the fight. I mean, obviously you can't just go out all day and all night. You get tired. We're still in the flesh. I mean, when you're by yourself, what are you surrounding yourself with? When you wake up, what's the first thing that you do? When you go to bed, what's the last thing you do before you go to sleep? A lot of the kids at my school say, well, I can't help it. I have to turn my alarm off. Our Bible teacher said, how many of you wake up and play on your phone before you do anything else? And I felt like most of the kids that were late for school said that. But anyways, all of us raised our hand mostly because we all look at our phone. And a lot of the kids' excuses was, well, I had to turn my alarm off. Well, that doesn't mean you have to keep playing on your phone. just like those 93% of young men, just because they saw it once doesn't mean they have to keep looking at it. Just because we fail doesn't mean we have to suffer in our failure. Just because we sin doesn't mean we have to drown ourselves in that sin. No, we need to get back in the fight. We need to get back to studying, caring, and praying, and remembering God's promises, and get back in the fight and actually care. One point that I hear, I've been listening to a lot of Billy Graham's sermons on YouTube. I thank God that they're there. One thing that amazes me was it'll show you an outer view of how many people are there. And he's in the middle of a football field sometimes. And a football field itself is pretty big. If we could have a service just the side of a football field, that would be pretty crazy. But most every time I see these videos, he's in the middle of that football field. And the reason he's in the middle is because he has to have people surround him completely in order for everyone to fit. I was watching a video at school once, and some kid said, who are you watching? What is that? I said, Billy Graham, and I explained to him what it is, and he was like, that's a lot of people. That'll never happen again. I said, what? And he said, that's a lot of people there. That'll never happen again. I said, no, the reason it won't happen again is because you think it won't happen again. Yeah. The reason it won't happen again is because you decide to sit where you're at and be complacent with what you have right now. But no, it's the people that get down on their knees and genuinely pray. And I don't mean God, please help this nation. God, please. I mean, God, please start a revival in me. Because where it starts is yourself. And once it starts in yourself, then it begins to go out to everyone else. Our pastor can't just get up here on Sundays, not have absolutely anything prepared, not prayed, not studied his word, get up here and just hope that the right things come out. No, he cares. I can almost guarantee you for a fact he spends countless hours each and every week between appointed times of when we come to meet in this house, and he gets down and he prays and he cares and he says, God, please give me what you'd have me to say. And that goes with most of the men that speak in our church. Caleb speaks at our church. Samuel spoke a couple weeks ago at one of the youth events. I can guarantee you these men are getting down and they're praying. They're saying, God, please. And I can almost guarantee you it starts with, God, please have your spirit in me. They don't say, God, please help everyone else to have the right spirit. No, because that's not what matters. What matters is where it starts. The revival started when people like Billy Graham got down and said, God, please use me, send me, do what you'd have me to do, and start a revival in me. And that's when he began to have these ginormous crowds. I would love to go to a meeting and see that many people there and see that many people run to the altar. It's mind-blowing how far we've come from Christ. Even from when I was just a kid. Growing up, the youth pastor that I used to be under, he did countless activities. I mean, almost to the point where our parents were like, dude, give us our kids back. But we wanted to do these things because everything he took us to was so centered on Christ that's what was on our minds next. That's the only thing that was on our mind. We'd wake up, and the only thing we'd look forward to, this Friday we're doing such and such with the youth. This Saturday we're doing such and such. And it would even be on school nights. And, of course, that's when our mom was like, no, that's ridiculous. And then Mom, please, I'll give you $5 if you let me go. Mom, please. Well, the amazing part of that was there was a youth rally we would go to each and every year. It's in North Carolina. And I'll never forget this place. It's one place where God has truly spoke to me. And there's also a place in Indiana. And those were some of the greatest moments of my life because it was an entire week or an entire just weekend. But when you're completely surrounded by Christ and you say, God, you get to the point to where you're saying, God, use me. God, please start it in me. It's the fire that keeps us going. It's constantly studying. It's constantly, people say, oh, well, they just got back from camp. That'll die off in a couple of days. No, that's why he kept taking us to things and kept doing things with us so that fire would never stop. It would never burn out. And the church as a whole used to be like that, I feel. Have that fire and it never stopped. But now, no, now it's dead. Now, everyone that comes on Sunday morning, more than half doesn't come back on Sunday night. It's just a couple hour difference. Just come back. See what God can give you. And then on Wednesday nights, oh, well, it's the middle of the week, I'm busy, I'm stressed out. Well, I can tell you what will help you with that stress is coming to church. I mean, that's what it's for. It's to help you get fed, get spiritually, to move on through the rest of your week. One of the pastors I grew up under, he's actually the pastor I accepted Christ as my Savior under, was Randy Dignan. He was preaching on, he'd preached on hell a couple of times that week already. And I was thinking, man, I was looking around, I was like, whoo, I hope God don't come back now, because I'm going to hell if he does. But I was already saved. I was the kid that I grew up in church my whole life. I was related to all the leaders, so everyone expected me to be saved, and I was scared. And then he preached on Saul to Paul, and he was like, you don't have to, stay where you're at. You can change, and I'll never forget it. He said, if you need to get saved, please raise your hand. I raised my hand, and he warned me. He said, son, I'm not going to lie to you. You're the only person in here with your hand raised right now. And I thought, oh, I'm going to put my hand down. But no, I'm glad I didn't. He said, please look up at me. And I saw the sincereness in his face, and he was like, you need to get saved. It'll be worth it. And he was right. But one thing I'll never forget about all the messages he preached on hell, he always ended it saying, I don't want to end on a bad note. Don't want to end on something negative. Because obviously dying and going to hell, that's pretty negative. Also, there's a quote that he said once, and the youth pastor that I used to be under used to repeat it over and over again. He would say, I want to be a stumbling block 5 feet from hell. And I feel as if the preachers who truly care actually succeed that. And what they mean by that is, hell's right over there. I want to be right here saying, stop. I promise you, there's a better way. You don't have to die and go there. And after he would preach on hell, he'd say, I don't want to end on a better note or on a sad note. I want to end on a happy note. And then he'd always remind us, well, obviously he'd switch it around, and you don't have to die and go to hell. And then he'd tell the seriousness of hell, and then he'd tell us how great it'll be if you get saved, where you'll be in glory land. And I think one thing to remember is that there's a better day coming, and I know that that's said very, very often, and it's looked upon almost so much to where we just look over it, but I think it's really serious for us to remember the fact that there's a better day coming. If anything, it should push you to do more in where you're at. I heard the illustration once, being a missionary doesn't always mean going to Africa. It can mean being a missionary in your own Jerusalem. And what that means is I'm technically being a missionary right now by getting up and speaking in front of you. Being a missionary just in our communities, in our schools, in our work environment. A lot of times, as I said, we look over the better day coming, and once we think about that, we almost realize, well, I'm glad there's a better day coming because there's not much of us left. And there's really not, and it's sad. But another story about soccer, actually. I'll never forget the game that we tied, which was closest to winning than all the others. The practice before that day, there was only a few of us there. And, there was only like 6 or 7 of us there, which for soccer, that's not many players to practice. We didn't have many players to begin with, but that was even low for us. And we practiced and we practiced and we practiced. And the day after, those kids who really studied, really focused on what the coach had to say in that practice, we made such an impact in the next game that we tied. I wish I could say we won because that would make it even better. But we didn't win. We tied. But that tiny group that was there at practice made a bigger impact than the humongous team that we usually had, which means our tiny little community right here, our tiny church that people are leaving each and every day, I feel as if we have hundreds of people leaving each and every day. It's not worth it no more. God's not here no more. No, we need to gather together. We need to realize that we can still make a bigger impact than even the bigger groups that have been before us. That's when you say, don't be discouraged, I guess. So a lot of times our coach would say, don't discourage one another. Guys, come on, we were teenage boys. We were stupid. Ha, you're horrible. You're not good at this sport, And we discourage each other. And he would say, hey, come on, encourage each other. Come on, we'll do better. And in that game that we almost tied and we almost did so much better, because that little group impacted the team so much, afterwards we asked each other what happened. Well, no one discouraged each other that game. After every game, we'd talk, and our coach would say, so what happened out there? And I feel like every game someone said, oh, well, such and such said this about me. Well, why'd that make you play different, first of all? But second of all, that's what tears us down, is when we're not encouraging one another. And to end on a way to, I guess, be encouraged, I was at my grandma's, my grandparents' house the other day, and my grandma just gave me this note card of verses, and I didn't know what they were for. And she was encouraging me because, as I said at my Christian school, I have to stand for what I believe so often that it seems like I'm not in a Christian school. And she said, well, don't be discouraged. And one of the verses that she had on there was Psalms 97:10, and I'll read it for you real quick when I get there. It says, and I said, this is my infirmity, but I will remember the years of the right hand of the Most High. Never forget that Christ is on high. He's always there. Another verse that she gave me was Psalms 112, verse 7. And it says, he shall not be afraid of evil tidings. His heart is fixed, trusting in the Lord. One of the most important things would be that not to forget what we trust in, what we do believe in. When you do want to say, look at the positive, well, there's not hardly any positive left on the earth, but we can always look to the better day. Look to Christ and know that he's there, and that we have that to look forward to eventually. But at the beginning of that verse, he says, he shall not be afraid of evil. We as Christians are fearing what's happening. Well, maybe we just need to fear God and trust that he's giving us the ability to fight against what's happening. And the last one is Psalms 118:6. It says, the Lord is on my side. I will not fear. What can man do unto me? And this is my favorite verse, so I figured I would end on a happy note. It says, the Lord is not on my side. I will not fear. Thank you. The Lord is on my side. I will not fear. What can man do unto me? Who's on our side? Christ. Come on now. The everlasting, the one who's never going to change, the one who never does change. In Bible class the other day, my Bible teacher is actually my brother-in-law. He asked us, we were talking about social justice or whatever, and today he was saying something, we're reading this book, and it was all about that, and somehow it got to the point of, why do the idols of this world not make such a foundation as Christ? And no one knew what to say, and I think it's as simple as never changing. If you're looking forward to that next iPhone, well, there's going to be another one that comes out later, which means you're going to be unsatisfied, which eventually means you're going to want the next one. And if you're rooting for that one sports team that's, you'll die for, eventually they're going to lose, no matter how good you think they are, even the Patriots. And at some point, you're going to need some more satisfaction from that one thing. But Christ is never changing. That should give us the factor of not fearing. And then I love the last part. It says, what can man do unto me? Well, the answer to that is nothing. Sure, they can try to take away everything that we have. I mean, they already are trying. But truly in the end, they can't really do anything to us because we have the answer. We have the one thing that's never going to change. We have the truth of what actually matters. And I think it's time that we stop fearing what man can do and what the consequences are. And we need to stand for what we believe. Even as young people, there's not very many young people in here, but I truly have a burden to make a difference in the fact that they think we don't have a voice when we do. Not just as Christians, but as young Christians. We're what's next. we're what matters. We're going to be the ones that have to carry on when, God forbid, when the elderly people die. We're what's next. And it's scary to look around at the surroundings that I'm in are supposed to be good, and they're just evil. And it's sad. Let's pray. Dear Lord, thank you for, once again, another day of life, God. Thank you for the ability you've given me to get up here and to speak, God. I strayed off a little bit, and I said some things I hope that you had me to say, God. I love you, Lord, and I feel as if we need to genuinely care, and we need to study, and we need to stand for what we believe in, and we need to stand for our rights. God, you have given us the foundation for this country that we need, and we need to not let that be taken out from under us. And we need to remember that you're the foundation under that, which means it's never changing. We need to rely on you in every aspect. We need to love you and cherish you. And we need to not talk to you as if you're just an idol, but as if we're in a relationship with you, because I hope that we are. And we can really talk to you just like you're another person, God. Like, please help me, Lord. I need some help. I need some advice today. And I think we've forgotten that a lot of times. Help us to rely on you and trust in you and not forget the things you've given us. Help us as we leave here tonight. Give everyone safe travels. Help us to love you and honor you. It's in your Son's perfect and precious name I pray. Amen.